So they say these are my golden years. Huh. Maybe for some. You know, I'm 57. And the only thing golden about my years at this point are the 2 retrievers I have. And one of them usually when he's rolling on the ground, he's usually rolling on something dead. Isn't that right? You look for something that's dead and then you roll on it. So is that what you're gonna do with me? When I lay on the ground having a heart attack, instead of retrieving help, you're just gonna roll on me? Yeah, this is golden, all right. And you, the sneaky troublemaker. Another golden. Yeah, I had a video at a Zoom meeting with a male doctor the other day, and I've been bumping heads with them a lot lately. You know, over the same issue. You know, you know, I have MS, and most people with MS I know have chronic pain issues, and you know, and mine started. You know, I was diagnosed with MS way back in 2002. So, in terms of when I look back at the progression of my MS, I'm blessed. You know, I'm 20 years in, and I'm still fairly mobile. I'm not playing racquetball like I used to. I was just a couple years ago when before I got this lung infection that landed me going to Mayo. But you know, so I guess 18 years in, I was still playing racquetball, with the exception of some bad days here and there. You know, but and then these guys, they got it going on. They got some golden years. But anyway, you know, this chronic pain issue, everything changed during COVID. So it got harder and harder to get pain medication, and now it's down to getting no pain medication. They want to take you through this journey of physical therapy, occupational therapy, and meditation and yoga, and basically they want to make you a professional patient. They want you to give up anything you enjoy doing so you can participate in their programs that are all non-narcotic, because you know that's a big no-no. You mention opiates anywhere, and boy, I tell you, no matter what kind of good relationship you had with them prior to that mentioning that word, once you do, the labels start coming out. Ever since I tried to get the Vicodin re-prescribed that I used to get, and I was getting them for 8, 9, 10 years. Ever since I tried to renew that script, I've been told that I'm depressed. I've been told that what else he said? What else did people say? Oh, that I'm suicidal, that I have suicidal tendencies. Most recently, that's a new one. I had to look it up. I had to Google it because I didn't know what it meant. This guy I seen the other day, he didn't say it during the meeting, but the next day I read in the report that he wrote that I was a psychotic nonconformist. I know what the two words mean independently, but I've never heard them put together like that. So I had to Google it. And there really wasn't very good many definitions of, Google didn't, come up with a verbal definition of it. You had to do some digging and piece it together of what that was. But all this stems from, all these categories that they keep coming up with now stem from my decision to want to treat my pain the way I choose, unlike the way they would prefer me to do it. And it leaves you wondering what to do. And I see this going on all across the country. I know MS. I belong to these groups and with MS, other MS patients, and they're having the same difficulties. And so this is a nationwide problem. It's not just here in Rochester, Minnesota, or back in Michigan. This is nationwide now, all because some goofs want to abuse those kind of medications and end up ODing. The rest of us that have legitimate chronic pain issues, we get penalized. And we're expected to give up and sacrifice having fun, doing recreational activities that we could easily do if we had the access to the medications that we need. Because those are things that we typically would have in our toolbox. If you know you're going to do an activity that's going to cause pain, you would take a pain medication 30 minutes before the activity, and that way the pain doesn't interrupt the activity, whether it's having fun or whether it's doing some physical work. You still are good. You mentioned that. I mentioned that scenario to this guy at the Zoom meeting the other day. He said, "Oh, so you pre-medicate? Like that's a bad thing. Like you can't. Like you don't know. Like you're not supposed to know what activities are going to cause you pain. And if you do, then they expect you to not engage in that activity. And it's an amazing thing. I got fitted for a leg brace this morning, because I'm having this drop foot issue now, and I was telling this lady as she's measuring my foot and leg and all that good stuff that she did put a cast or make some kind of cast to order that device, whatever that is. I don't know what they call it. And she and I was telling her about this meeting with this doctor, and she said, "Well, that doesn't make any sense. If you know you're going to engage in something and you can't pre-plan taking some medications for it to prevent the pain from occurring, and you're expected to wait for the pain to happen and then take the medication, that's not logical to me either." And I said, "Well, yeah, I know, but they call that pre-medicating, and apparently that word is not a good thing in the healthcare industry at this point." But what I pointed out to her, I says, what's really remarkable about this is on a good year, my health care costs about $100 grand. My insurance company's paying out about $100 grand if I have a good year. If I have a bad year, that number can easily get up to $250, $350, maybe even $400,000 if I'm hospitalized for an extended period of time. It's happened. I've looked back over the 20 years, and every year it's at least $100 grand. Sometimes it's 200, sometimes it's 300. It varies depending on what happened that year and what needed to be treated. Because MS is so variable, and these providers, they make out. They hit my insurance company bad every year, year after year, 20 years now, for minimum $100 grand. Sometimes, $300,000-400,000. But I can't get a $50 or $100 script for a pain medication. That's the remarkable thing about all this. These people are making all this money on me, and all I ask in return is to deal with the pain, which is very cheap. $50, $100, I think that script was, per month. In comparison to what my overall costs are, that's not. You can't even say that's a drop in the bucket. That's not even a drop. That's nothing compared to what they're putting in their pockets off my care. I don't know. And now we've got. I see legislators. One most recently, just a few days ago. They must have got a lot of complaints from their constituents down there in Oklahoma City, because they proposed some type. They drafted up some bill that they're trying to push around the floor in their legislature to loosen up this recently created grip on, or this recently developed anti-opiate mindset. And that legislature down there, that legislator in Oklahoma City, isn't the only one. There's another one out west somewhere, Wyoming, Montana, that recently did the same thing. Generated some type of proposed bill and trying to get support for it, because apparently she's hearing from a lot of her constituents about the same problem, that they can't get the medications that they used to get anymore, and it's affecting their quality of life. And it's a simple thing. But when I look at the big picture, I can see how it ended up this way, because it's all about the money. The providers, when they seen the CDC and the FDA clamp down on prescribing opiates because of the suicides, because of the overdoses, because of the abuses, that opened the door for them to cash in, because now they can, instead of writing the script for that they make nothing on, they can turn around and flip that around in their benefit, to their benefit, by having you go to occupational therapy, physical therapy, and all the other. One of the programs that was suggested by pain management over there required me to go in. I didn't do it. I didn't sign up for it because it's just not feasible. But they wanted me to go in Monday through Friday from 8 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon and participate in whatever it is that they do during that program for 3 weeks. And it's some type of behavioral restructuring program that they have to deal with pain. And it's like, who has time for that? How do you do that? I mean, I don't understand their logic with this. I don't know. And then, he says, well, what am I doing? Because I'm no longer driving anymore. Can't do that. Had to give that up. He says, yeah, here you go. You went back to school. And I said, yeah, I went back to school. And what's that cost? Like it's any of his business, but he asked that question. And I said, well, tuition's kind of high, but it's a 3-year program, and it's something that I know that in the end I end up with a degree that's pretty diverse. There's a lot of things that you can do with that type of degree, and no matter how my physical condition is, even if I'm in a wheelchair, I can still participate in something involving that career choice. And he's like, well, that's a lot of money to spend for something that you don't really know what you're going to do with 3 years down the road. And I thought, well, yeah, it is a lot of money, especially considering I just paid off my student loans and now I signed up for some new ones. I did get a little scholarship, but I got to do something. and he wrote that in his report as a negative thing. Actually, he put that in the same paragraph of his notations about what was he was that paragraph dealt with decision making. You know, he was making notes of some of my decision making abilities, and everything was fine. But the decision to go back to school concerned him. It concerned him. Huh. Well, what am I supposed to do? Go to your 3-week therapy program and get my behavior restructured so I can maybe possibly forget about pain? I don't know. I don't know what to think. So these are my golden years. Now, if you wonder what this bandage was, that's another thing. I got fitted for this this device from my foot, and after that, I had an appointment with a dermatologist for a follow-up, just because I had that nose cancer. I think it's called nasal cancer, and then they do a nose treatment or something. About 4 years ago, I had that done, and they like to have that looked at every year after that procedure to make sure it doesn't come back. So I had one of them kind of appointments with dermatology today, and I figured, it would be like all the previous years. We just, she looks at it and tells you, well, all's well. Let's see you next year. And it didn't work out that way today. Today, the guy said, "Hey, come here. No, you pay attention. You stay over here. Go mind your own business." Today, he looks at my nose and he said, "Oh yeah, that part looks good. The area where they did the surgery last time. But there's a spot over here. Did you know? When did that occur? What spot? I didn't know there was a spot there." And he gets a mirror because my vision's been kind of going lately. So when it comes to seeing little things, I don't fare too well. And I just got some new reading glasses too, and I picked them up a couple weeks ago, and actually I'm wearing, these are my old ones, because my new ones, they're worse than these. So I'm not having much luck with getting my vision corrected. But anyway, he says, when did that spot occur? And I said, well, I don't know. When I look in the mirror, I don't see it. So he grabs one of his mirrors, and it's got a light on it, and he puts it up to my face. He says, "You see it now?" "Oh yeah, I see it now." So you got the mirror crammed in my face. That's not how I look in the mirror when I'm in the bathroom or in the hallway. I don't stick my face with a light there. But yeah, I see it now. So what is it? And he said, "Well, it could be cancerous." I said, "Oh, great. This is what I need, So he said, "Well, let's do a biopsy and we'll let you know what the results are." Great. And just what I need. More problems. So that's the bandage. What do you need? Need something? You want some water? Thirsty? Let me get you your dish. This isn't my car anymore. It's their car. I'm just the chauffeur with the wallet and the poop bags. That's it. I got hair all over this car, hair all over me. I drive around with water jugs, dishes, a pet bed, toys. It's not my car. Even though the title says so. It's not my car. Here you go. These are my golden years. Having a lot of fun. I don't know if anybody's watching this. I wouldn't be able to see anyway. I can't see. So no point looking. I tell that younger one of mine, that the younger gold now, one Sammy Joe, the English cream, she'll be 8 in July. They're a day apart in birthdays. He'll be 5 in July. I've had them both since they were the size of a shoebox. And once he hit about a year old, year and a half, all he takes about food and humping. And I keep telling him, because most of the time she don't seem interested. They never had puppies. They're both intact. And I was hoping they'd have at least one litter, just so I could have a larger golden family, better golden years. But it never happened. And now with her turning 8 in July, I think those days are over with. But he still tries. Every day. Multiple. You got to give him an A+ for effort. Yeah, golden years. Oh, getting back to the other appointment though, the other day, when he asked me about what I was going to do with that degree, I said, well, media communications, a degree in media communications, that opens the door for a lot of things. You can do, there's so many things in that world. You could be anything from a press secretary to a knucklehead, or you can be, a spokesperson for a major company that's in the news a lot. You could be a journalist. You can do all kinds of things. Or my last example of what you could do is you could just do podcasts about how difficult it is to get opiates. Maybe that's what made him do the bad report. He didn't like some of my responses. I talked to someone yesterday about that when I read the report at the back at the RV park. I was going through the report and with someone else trying to figure out some of the terminology. And he says, well, the guy I was asking about, talking to that report about, he started asking questions. Well, did you? He asked me, how much did you talk in that during that 78 minutes of your Zoom meeting versus how much did he have talk? I said, well, he asked the questions and I provide the answers. I don't know, probably a 60-40 ratio. Me 60% of the time and the doctor 40%. He said, well, that's your first problem. You talk too much. I said, well, I'm just answering the questions. Well, you can't tell these people some things that you seem to be telling. I said, well, your medical team, you're supposed to be able to tell them. You're supposed to be upfront with them and tell them the way it is. That's how I'm used to it. That's how my old medical team was back in Michigan. Back pre-COVID. Everything changed with COVID. I don't know why, but everything's kind of hitched to COVID. But, back in the day, you could talk to your doctors. They would ask you things, and we'd talk about your fishing trips and their fishing trips, and now they're watching the clock and they're not asking anything. Once in a while, I'll ask them about how my dogs are doing. That's it. And I think that's just to make it seem like that they're personally engaged, but I don't think so. I got some kind of message. I don't know what it is. But What do you need? You need something too? That's Sammy Joe. Let's see if we see her. There she is. That's Sammy Joe. She's my innocent looking troublemaker. She's my sneaky troublemaker. Aren't you? You're the sneaky one. Actually, you're a manipulator. You manipulate the other one to get into trouble. Yeah, don't you? Well, don't just sit there and lick your lips. Go get some water. Go get some water. Go roll in the grass. Go find a stick. Go be a puppy. Maybe I should do a podcast on the opiate issue. And reach out to those legislators that have, drafted up bills dealing with this issue. Because I'm definitely not the only one. I don't know why it's so difficult. Why I have to give up having fun or give up being able to do physical activities because of pain. And that makes no sense. I could see if I had a history of drug abuse, overdosing, misusing, selling, whatever. All the negative things that sometimes occur when those kind of medications are prescribed, but none of that has ever happened. Never OD'd, never abused, never made up stories how I lost my prescription and I needed another one when that never happened. None of that. Matter of fact, I never used the medications that were prescribed. I didn't even take them as prescribed. Like you value them. They're kind of getting on me about not taking them the way, they're prescribed. You're supposed to take 3 a day. I don't take 3 a day. Sometimes I take 1 a day. Sometimes 2. Depends who I got to talk to usually. If I got to call IT at Sprint or something, or Verizon, or if I got to call the IRS, I usually pop a Valium before that phone call. But other than that, I don't need 3 a day. But if you don't take 3 a day and you tell them that, that's like some kind of strike. I don't know. I don't get it. Why can't it be take as needed instead of take as written? Well, what's the point in taking something if you don't need it? Same thing with the pain meds. I know I get kind of anal about that, and I don't understand why. They used to wait, when I was an inpatient once, back at a Spectrum Hospital in Grand Rapids. I was inpatient there for like a week, 10 days. They'd wake me up out of a dead sleep. I'd be in a good sleep, sleeping sound, and they'd wake me up at 4 in the morning to give me Oxycontin. And I kept asking the nurse every morning. She'd wake me up. I said, "Why you wake me up? Why do we keep having this conversation? Let me sleep. And then when I wake up, if I'm in pain, I'll let you know. You can give me one of those. But don't wake me up out of a dead sleep. If I'm sleeping and it looks like I'm sleeping comfortably, I don't need a pain med pill." But she's, well, that we need to keep you on a schedule. Keep me on a schedule. Okay. But then on the way out, and when they discharged me, I asked them for a script to go till I can get a chance to see the primary care for a refill. Oh no, we can't do that. Oh, okay. So you can keep me high on Oxycontin while you got me inpatient, but then once I'm discharged, well, I don't need that stuff anymore. That's convenient. I don't know. What do I know? I'm the psychotic nonconformist. I guess that's what they call you when you don't want to follow their idea of a treatment plan, because that's all it is an idea. I remember when my mom was diagnosed with MS, and that was in the early 80s. I kind of flipped out. I was really concerned. It scared me. I heard about MS, and I was, just into the books. They didn't have Google back then, so you had to go to the library and trying to meet people that would know, lead me in a direction of finding her help. And one of those directions ended up having me go to a clinic in Hanover, Germany, in the early 80s. And I had to rob Peter to pay Paul. I had ended up with legal problems over that, but I didn't care because it was my mom. You do what you do, to protect your family, especially your mom. And I get over there. I couldn't afford to bring her with me, so the best I could do was get her MRIs and all her medical records together and go meet the guy and see what he's got for a treatment plan. And everything, that was an expensive trip, because back then you couldn't get no ticket for $500 to go to Frankfurt and all that stuff. You had to, it was thousands. That was an expensive undertaking. And when I got done seeing him, he thought it was, during a conversation with that doctor, he thought that MS was somehow related to dairy products, because he felt that at the time MS was predominantly in dairy producing states, so he thought there was a link between dairy products and MS. And the neurologist, my mom's neurologist back in the States, was telling her that, well, we don't really know, but we're sure a cure is coming soon. So you don't know where it is, where it's from, where it comes from, how to prevent it, but you're confident that a cure is right around the corner. And I remember that neurologist back then telling her that a cure is right around the corner in those terms. And today I've heard that same phrase from neurologists that I see. A cure is right around the corner. And I'm thinking, that sounds really, really familiar. I've been hearing that for a long time. I'd really like to know what corner are they talking about, because I don't think there's a corner on the planet that I couldn't have walked to when they told my mom it was right around the corner, because I sure would have walked there to get it. But it doesn't exist, and it probably never will. There's no incentive. There's no incentive to cure MS. The Avonex that I was originally prescribed, I'm still on. It's a weekly injection. When I was first prescribed that medication back in 2002, it was, I think, about $3,500 a month. That's 4 shots, $3,500 a month. Today, most recently, in my most recent script I picked up for that same medication, it's in a different format. It's no longer in a bottle or 2 bottles that you got to mix together and do a intermuscular injection. Now they got them in an auto injector. But today, that prescription, 4 mini boxes of these auto injectors filled with this liquid, pre-mixed, is $8,500. And I would imagine the pharmaceutical company that makes that particular medication, they've long paid for their research and development on it. I would bet the farm on it, but I would think it's safe to say that the packaging and the auto injector device itself probably costs more than the liquid that's in it. That's a lot of profit. And that's just one component of treating MS. That's not including the annual MRIs, and then, with the hospital charges for the MRI, use of the machine, and then with the radiologist charges to examine the images and issue a report. for the neurologist to read and charge for. You know, we do this every year. And then in between that yearly MRI shindig, you know, they send you to PT, OT. You got to make sure you know how to stretch. I don't know how to stretch. 57 years old now, and they're still trying to teach me to stretch. Like that does something. I said, if you give them my pain pills, I just naturally would stretch. But when I pick up a box and I lift it up and I put it up on a shelf, which I typically do a lot of, if I'm in the storage bay, or if I'm in the RV, or if I'm just in normal life. Just in normal life, if we're active, we're just inadvertently stretching. But when you're in pain, you're not active. So they keep you in pain, so that way they can sell you on the stretching program and the yogas and the meditations and all this other stuff, which generates revenue for them, but it does nothing to alleviate my pain. These are my golden years. I know probably, I don't know who's watching this, if anybody, but something tells me someone from the hospital will be watching at some point, and I'll be labeled something else. They'll come up with another label to add to all the others that they've issued along the way. But the most recent one, psychotic nonconformist. So I, you know, like I said, there was no clear definition of those two words together. You had to look for the definition of psychotic and then look for the definition of nonconformist, and then kind of piece that together yourself. Because even the lady I seen today that was doing the leg thing, the brace, doing the measurements for that, she didn't know what that phrase meant either. She'd never heard that term, psychotic nonconformist. Sounds terrible. Yeah, sounds terrible. I wrote one of the doctors I really like over there at Mayo. I wrote her last night when I read that report, and just to give her an update of what I got coming up, and I mentioned the being all the labels that have been added to my file over the course of the last 2-3 years at Mayo, and I says, well, if being an advocate for the type of treatment plan that you believe is the most effective makes you a psychotic nonconformist, I'll probably wear that label. And then they actually, some of these doctors have said, well, we're concerned about addiction. Concerned about addiction. I've been on this stuff already for 8-9 years, consistently, before driving, because I had to give it up when I got my CDL. But, and boy, was that rough. That was tough driving without those medications. I ate a lot of Motrin. Talk about abuse. I abused Motrin. Man. But, yeah. They call this progress. They call this progress. And now these two got to go see the vet. They're due for some vaccines. And then Sammy Jo, she's got a little lump going on by her hip. It's been there a long time. It's nothing new. It's that the lump started probably when she was 3. And I had to, I've had probably 3 or 4 vets look at it over the years. And they all keep saying the same thing. Don't worry about it. It's just fatty tissue. But now I'm starting to wonder, because all the misdiagnoses and all the weird treatments that I've been experiencing. makes me wonder how much they actually care about my goals. So they've got an appointment at the University Medical Center for, I guess it's the equivalent of Mayo for puppies here in Rochester, in Minnesota. It was supposed to be Monday, but I had to reschedule that. So the following week, she's going to go there, and I'm going to kind of push for x-rays and a biopsy and getting that, whatever it is, that if it's just fatty tissue, that's fine. It's not paying rent. It's got to go. You know, we've been looking at it too long. It doesn't seem to bother her, but you know, I just want to have it looked at a little bit more thoroughly. And then the other one, I was grooming him the other day, and he had this looked like a minor wound on the back of his neck, but it doesn't seem to be bothering him. And he's got an appointment at the same place, same day that she does, just for vaccines, so I'm going to have him look at that. You know, in the meantime, I keep it dry and I put Neosporin on. He doesn't seem to be itching it. He's not doing anything. Doesn't seem to be bothering him. I don't know how it happened. Maybe he bumped into something underneath the RV or something. I don't know. He's the one that's always exploring and into things. There's a clear distinction between these two types of golden retrievers. You know, Sammy Joe, she's an English cream. They were bred to be show dogs. Chaton, he's your typical American tan, field golden, they call them. And those are bred to be hunters. And you can see that in them, you know, at night when he sees something moving, he assumes a position, a stance that like he's ready to make a move, go on the hunt. She could see the same thing, wouldn't care. She could care less, unless it was a steak off the grill. You know? She could care less. She don't care about chasing rabbits, nothing. There's a big difference between these two types of golden retrievers. Yeah. What? So I got my hands full. Everything's medical. Me and the kids. They're my kids. You know. And four-legged kids. Apparently that's a bad thing too, according to the medical profession. 18 kids, unhealthy. To look at them that way. Some do, not all. It's like half and half. Half are always anti-something, anti-everything that you do, and the other half are supportive. And it seems to be the ratio. You know, half think it was a great idea to go back to school, yeah, the other half don't. You guys ready to go? You ready to go home? After I got done at Mayo, I did laundry. So we're at a Quick Trip, so they can go to the bathroom because they were in the car for a couple hours. I try not to make them wait more than 3 hours. You know, I try to make sure that they get out every 3, even at night. You know, so I never really get a whole night's sleep anymore. I always make sure that they never sleep through. You need to go to the bathroom, they're up. So I just set the clock at night every 3 hours and let them go out. Not bad in the summer. It sucks here in the winter doing that. Especially on those negative 34 degree nights. There he goes again. A little more humping. I keep telling him, he's lucky he's got 4 legs, not 2. Because if he had 2 legs, he'd have been charged with felonies a long time ago. Sammy Joe, you're not the least bit interested, are you? Sit down. She's not interested. Yeah. Sit down. Does she look interested to you? Does she really look like she really wants to do that? He's probably looking at me like, yeah, don't be a day dad, don't be a hater. Just because you're not getting it doesn't mean I should. You guys ready to go? You ready? What? You look ready. You ready for a nap? I'm ready for a nap. Naps are a good thing. That's nice, golden years. Naps. Gave me a... What's with the lip? I get that raised lip every now and then. You know, you're on Facebook Live, you know. I don't know how many people are watching, if anybody. They don't give a fuck. Probably goes against community standards. You're gonna get me in Facebook jail. That's gonna happen. You're gonna get me in trouble. Yeah. I guess I'll get these kids home. Get dinner. It's about that time. You guys getting hungry? Yeah, we're on the same page on that, huh? Well, till next time. Maybe I will do a podcast on that. And maybe get some legislators involved. Or try to. Because this can't continue. And now summer's coming and the heat's coming. And heat and MS do not go well together. And that scares the shit out of me. Have another summer like last summer. I spent last summer in bed most of the time. And even then you couldn't find a comfortable position. No. It really doesn't, I don't know if you can see that, but does it look like she's interested? It doesn't seem to me like it. Shaitan, I don't think you got consent. And if you don't have consent, and you had 2 legs, that's a serious problem. Well, let's go home. Let's go open the kitchen. Let's go home and open the kitchen. What you think? Okay. All right. Gotta go feed the kids. You know, have a blessed Easter weekend. And if you're having problems getting your medications for chronic pain, and you wanna have some dialogue about that, maybe even a podcast, hit me up. Maybe we can participate in getting the pendulum to swing the other way, back to where it should be. Enjoy your weekend, everyone.